Guys, Ice Gamer here. Today I want to talk about the news of FiveM. This is a website called FiveM.team. It's a website you can go to. It's a 300 page article about the internal battles within FiveM, the history of FiveM, and this current state of FiveM, the corruption, every aspect of FiveM is covered here, from how it was formed, who is responsible, what was happened during the acquisition process, and what is the current stage and phase of development for the project. So I'm gonna just direct you to the finale of the article. So if you scroll into the sections, top part, there will be a section called conclusion, and that is the best place to start because it just summarizes everything 300 pages down to a couple pages, and that is what we're going to read today. I'm going to read this with you guys and give you my thoughts. I've already went through this myself, but I want to provide my input of experience for being on FiveM for 5 years. So NTA, that's the creator of FiveM. They also their Twitter name is called NTA Authority. On the FiveM forums and Discord, they are called D Bubble. So NTA creates GTA 5. They create FiveM shortly after PCs were launched. They notice and they enforce legal action. They actually took him to court. They had private investigators come to the house, and what happened is that NTA directly is banned from all modding on Take Two Interactive IP, but FiveM still succeeds because it was a successful lawsuit. He ended up winning the court case. However, he still had contingencies he had to follow. So they decided to still continue with FiveM. And so what happened, what Groot is, what he means by this is the Groot Gang. It's a form of members that came into the scene of helping out with FiveM's development. So it was the original founders, which is NTA, and this other guy named Disguise. These two, Disguise ran RedM, like the main development, and NTA ran the main development for FiveM. Groot, what they called a reference in this article, is a group of people who became adversarial against FiveM's mission and the founder, and for the benefit of money and for themselves first. So I'll explain a little more context. He refers Groot Gang. There'll be a couple of names you'll hear: Groot Gang and Ethan Hirsch. Groot Gang is a group of people that decided to volunteer for the project afterwards, and during that period of time, he formed a new group called the Collective. And during that time, this group of 5 people became close friends, and they decided to overthrow and try to sabotage the founder as much as they possibly can, from all the way to persuading him to have Rockstar Games buy the organization, to even trying to get him, he even got him fired and kicked out from Rockstar Games. So they tried many attempts to deliberately mislead and lie. It's a lot of corruption. Somebody who just completely abused trust in every aspect. It's a story. It's a huge. You can gather more context. All of this is true. The evidence is there. If you read the article, there's 300 pages. It shows screenshots. It's extremely comprehensive. I even cross-checked myself on websites and social media, and I got context for everything. Second big person is Ethan Hirsch. This guy is currently a director at Rockstar Games, and were they knew about the project at FiveM, and they decided to become a part of it. And his intentions, he was trying to be professional. He came off as extremely trustworthy, credible, and everybody at FiveM at the organization wanted to be acquired by FiveM. That was something they dreamed of. I mean, the founder himself, wanted that for himself as well. Not because of the payday, but because they wanted to have a future at Rockstar. It's something they always dreamed of, being a developer at this big company that they always dreamed of, that made their most passionate game. So what happened is Ethan, he became a manager, a director again at Rockstar Games, and he currently runs the show at FiveM. So he is the one who calls the shots, development. He's the one who is filing claims of DMCA or whatever on FiveM mods, such as like the Liberty mod, and there's some other cases as well. He explains this in the article. This guy Ethan, he's a complete degenerate. Like he's hypocritical. He's somehow still at Rockstar Games. He's completely messed up the project in terms of his bad management skills, and he expresses that in detail. And a lot of people who worked in the FiveM group after being acquired by Rockstar had to follow Ethan Hirsch because he's the director of the project. So eventually, what happened is the original founders of FiveM and Redem, they became contractors, not official Rockstar employees. And the Groot Gang, which they were initially this group of people who wanted this acquisition, they betrayed him. They tried to get the acquisition done without his consent because it was a collective group. Ethan Hirsch as well. So there's a lot of like persuasion to get him to have the company purchased. And so what happened is that after that acquisition, they tried to deliberately get him fired through lies to PR and to HR, I mean, human resources. They made a lot of cases, and this person's been through legal problems and also just through complete douchebags of friends, of former friends, coworkers, people who betrayed him. And in my personal opinion, from reading all this, is that finding the right partners and the right people on your team could be the make or break anything. They could be the ones, they could be your best allies or your worst enemies. And I think it's very important to always assess. It's a life lesson for everyone. Is you always want to assess the people. You want to make sure that they're good, and it takes time. And I feel like what happened here is because you know Aiden NTA got carried away with the Rockstar acquisition. He was carried away by the dreams of this Rockstar being acquired, and this how this person was and acted, but he didn't really know all the facts and the history and what they are aside from the facade. And sometimes it takes time. And I feel like a bit of things was rushed. And when somebody at the table is thinking about, oh, well, this is how it's going to benefit you, you should think to yourself, how does it benefit me and who benefits in this transaction? And when you ask the question, when this deal went through, there's a lot of red flags. Like, for example, the shadiness of the acquisition itself being done through Ethan and the Groot gang and being discussed without full consent on the founders. And that's a red flag altogether. Like if I was in NTA's position, I would have made sure that it was canceled outright. I would have considered that as a barrier of a problem with consent and communication. And that's just a couple of red flags. It just when you still see people take actions for your work and for what you created and they try to tell you these things, you should be careful. You should be cautious about your work. And especially this person spent many, many years, about probably 5 to 10 years on this project, FiveM. And he is the one who core developed One Sync Infinity, which allowed beyond 32 players. He developed all these great technologies, what makes FiveM work, like the escrow system, the anti-cheat system, creating the team to work on modding Red Dead Redemption so it still stays alive. And a lot of this stuff is all detriment because of bad coworkers, but also because of a bad team. And that's just what's unfortunate. The moment he gave FiveM to another organization, they had all the pull. So they got a big payday, but the problem is then they ended up getting kicked out of their own company. So let's go and keep on reading this article. So Groot, so basic Groot, basically what their current state is that they are sitting at high-paying six-figure salaries at Rockstar as developers, and they're developing nothing. Like there's no fixes being made, no forum responses being made. You can look at the CFX forums, you can look at the Discord. Nobody's communicating with the community like they did, and there's no community communication like at all with the current team, and that's because of Ethan and also the people there at the staff team. It's a group. It's a whole group mess. Um, another thing is also AltV. If you heard about the GTA 5 source code leaks, the reality, what actually happened is that the mod menu creators, they got early access to the code and they were developing it for years. And what happened is they're trying to do a group buy from this guy called to this guy named T Cop Uber Hacker. And if you heard of him, he's I think in jail right now. He's in the UK, and he was known for leaking GTA 6's footage, early beta footage. That guy did a direct deal, and they paid $7,000. They did a group buy. All the Alt 5 developers, that's the ex Alt 5 developers that now work at Rockstar. During their process of being employed at Rockstar, they literally was buying and selling intellectual property that's and they're still at where Rockstar. It doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like that's not true. I think there's some gap. There has to be some. I feel like there has to be some serious lies going on if that's actually the case, because everybody knows that situation. It was a highly investigated incident, so I don't know if that's actually true. I'm not saying it is, but that's maybe a possible thing. And there is evidence to prove that because the person provides this whoever wrote this article, which I'm guessing is NTA because their extensive knowledge in the situation on DMs and all this couldn't be provided by somebody else aside from NTA. Um, that's my take on that. So let's read this. They try to secretly so, as I said, even though they're bought 5.5M, they actually couldn't even use the source code, even though everybody had it. And the thing is, 5M, they got it and they were like wanting to use it to really fix every problem with 5M. And a lot of the problems with 5M come down because of the source code, the actual game itself being a terrible coding problem. Like it's an unoptimized game. Um, so yeah, so that's what happens. That Rockstar deal goes through. They beg for 30% of the 20 million, and they give the money. The overall mood's optimistic. Then what happens is they start that group of adversaries becomes, hey, I did all the work and la la la, and this guy didn't do anything, and he's doing terrible things, blah blah blah, and he's suspended. He gets kicked out. The development of 5M starts to go down, and that's pretty much it. Keeps going on. Like you can read this yourself. I'm gonna skim through this because it's a lot. So as I said, the source code leaks. Ethan Fire Disguise, which is the original developer of Red Dead Redemption's modding community of 5M. It's called Red M. It's like similar to 5M, but for Red Dead Redemption. Disguise was good friends with the was good friend. He was the original developer of the project. He got fired. Um, so yeah, and then 5M becomes degraded, and then it's found out that Ethan Hirsch is trying to sabotage the project because he wants to develop his own proprietary online platform called Rome, Rockstar Online Modding Engine, and he wants to use the source code for that project, but not for 5M. So it's basically what he's trying to do. A lot of them do sustain themselves, but problem is that you need somebody who's skilled to do actual bug testing and development to make sure there's no remote code execution or malware, or make sure the anti-cheat's up to date so nobody's getting banned for no reason, and that mod menus aren't being able to be passed through. A lot of the GitHub contributors are no longer there, and if you can see here, Most of the work was done by NTA and a lot of other people, and a lot of people don't do much. Red M is dead because that guy who made that is now no longer developing it, and nobody knows how to do it. So it's just a lot of unfortunate stuff. I'm gonna skim through this. I'm guessing Casey is the developer of ESX, which is a framework. Let's keep skimming through this. Rome, as I explained, so now it's accessible to the team source code. Rome, so what they're trying to do is make sure that they use that code towards their advantage. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. On Ethan, he's basically given a public opinion on this. He said that he knows the problems and that he's corrupt and he could have been a better job. Um, let's see. Documents are hard to organize. It definitely was. He's telling about, hey, you should be understanding the damage you're doing on your product and how it could improve. This team must never speak with one of their leaders to attention to problems, the corruption at Rockstar. Different people from the team are showing frustration. A lot of the problems come from poor mismanagement from Ethan as well. And it's crazy that these guys get six-figure paychecks and they don't make results. So Titanium, Momentum, he goes through everybody, what those names are and who they are. And you start to quickly understand why FiveM support is terrible, why FiveM has terrible bans, and why you can't appeal them, why why every problem in FiveM exists that we have now, like people getting banned for no reason, the support being terrible, the community's feedback not being there, people not being listened, people at the teams at Rockstar, like the original developers, never were listened, their input wasn't valued, and what's going on is that it's all falling apart. And so there's no actual future for the project except maintaining it. And so that's the biggest issue. And it's the most saddest thing. It became the most popular platform online, modding wise. This is something that, rappers have used. This is something that even voice actors of GTA 5 have used, like Sean Fontano for running Franklin's World. And all of this stuff is so serious. And it's unfortunate that things are the way it is now. So, yeah, that's basically it. And he talked about how passionate he was and his take on the team. And he's still remaining to be optimistic about GTA 6. He's not saying that everybody at Rockstar is corrupt. So this is not a story about, hey, greed and corruption. That's all, every answer. No. Sometimes it's just a couple bad actors in a company that can ruin it. Doesn't mean everybody. There's a lot of good people out there. And every company, even if it's very big, there's always some bad people who do adverse things. There's nothing much you can do about it. Managers, and that's why CEOs exist. That's why HR exists, because they have to manage this organization, this complex web of a lot of people. And it takes a lot of work. And so I'm just saying this lesson should be taken as a message to remember who, if you're going to start a company, organization, team, whatever, that you pick not the people you just trust, but the people that have good reputation and have a good history, not from just you do research, you make sure that the person's good, you make sure that they have good values and that you've known them longer enough that you understand how they are in certain situations, and you assess their personality, you assess their values. And I think that's a very important question. And yeah, that is the biggest distinct factor to the failure of FiveM is terrible people ruining it for everyone. Small group of people because they're selfish. I'm not saying everybody's selfish in the world. I'm not cynical. I'm just saying they were selfish and they were greedy. They wanted the money. They didn't want comfortable jobs at Rockstar. They didn't care about the community. They just wanted to benefit themselves. They didn't care about the project, the community, or the goals of the project. And I think that's fundamentally the biggest problem is making sure that the people you work with are passionate, are focused, and with you in line to your goal. And you know they are. And that's probably the biggest factor here. And it's not easy to find out. It takes time. But that is the story of FiveM, of internal corruption, the dramas, the reasons of why everything is the way it is in FiveM, and everything. This document shows everything. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's quite long. This is my opinion on it. Please just keep this is for educational purposes. Um, don't take this as any hate towards anybody at Rockstar Games or anything like that. This is simply my opinion on what I've seen, and I only have, I'm actually a stakeholder at Take-Two. I have shares in the company, and I still believe in Rockstar Games. This is not a statement about Rockstar being bad or greedy or this and that. This is just assessment based on the mismanagement of that company and how it happened. So please don't take this as any hate towards them and the company and the people. I'm just saying a couple of those bad actors who don't do their jobs and very clearly don't do their jobs in maintaining FiveM even properly. That's just my opinion, and I just wanted to share that with everybody. And it's just interesting to learn. It's interesting to know somebody who's been a part of FiveM is very passionate about GTA. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you really did. Leave a dislike if you did not. Subscribe for more videos. Be focusing on when GTA 6 comes out. Oh, you bet I got a PlayStation. I'm going to play that game all the time. So, I have streams. I do streams once a week. And very much when GTA 6 comes out, I'll be streaming a lot. So stay on, subscribe, put notifications on, and thank you for watching and supporting the channel. Bye-bye.